some soccer!
Oh, yes! Oh, yes! Oh, yes! Yes! Oh, yes! Oh, yes! Oh, yes! Oh, yes!
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us at the DN35 podcast. I'm joined by a plethora of town fans, most of whom were not lucky enough to be there yesterday. So we're really keen on getting your thoughts in. Bruce is here in his Grimsby Town get-up, looking like a youth team academy player dropped off 35 years ago and hasn't been able to get over it. How are you, Bruce?
I'm hoping they've got more hair than I have. I'm all right, mate. Thank you. Yeah, not too bad at all.
Good, thank you. And Tom, fresh off parenthood. How is everything in your little world, Tom?
Very good, thanks.
Brilliant. And back from relegating Scunthorpe United, and he was rewarded with the largest mug the world has ever seen. It used to belong to Kevin Van Veen. Scott, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's nice to be back from my self-imposed exile.
Did Humberside say you can't go on there? They can't hear you.
No.
They can't hear you laughing.
I wasn't laughing at all. I just told it how I saw it, and Scunthorpe United ultimately are not very. They're not good enough, and it's just been like watching Town last season.
I thought you were going to say. I just called it as I saw it. It wasn't my fault. It was funny.
I was never laughing, Alex. No. It's a mirror image of Grimsby Town last season, and I would say Scunthorpe United at the minute. The last game I saw was Mansfield. They wouldn't be good enough for National League, let alone League Two.
That's a shame. I mean, we might talk about them in some detail in a bit because some of the respected people that I read from there are actually slightly worried about the club's existence, never mind relegation. But we don't have to dwell on that for a moment because we have probably, I would say, and I don't want to get Tom too excited, with the remaining fixtures we have, excluding the playoffs, should we make it, we've vanquished what I believe is the toughest opponent we will face in Torquay. We had our friends on from Torquay Talk last week said we shouldn't expect to beat them. They've got their tails up, their danders up. This is their cup final. And it didn't end the way they wanted. But Bruce, does the last minute penalty cover many sins? Or was it a consummate performance which was meant to have a Town victory on it?
I think in the first half we were lethargic, and we looked like they looked good. They looked a decent side, a confident side. They attacked us, obviously scored. They had a real go, and I think at half time we were the keener to get in, and second half we did improve, and just about deserved the victory. We hit the post, we hit the bar, I think. But again, we've said it time and time again about not putting teams to bed. We were on top in the second half, and we didn't take the chances we created. I've seen it said on social media today, only by a couple of people, but there was a bit of a thread went on my Twitter about the fact that it was Hurst that was negative, and I don't think he was yesterday, or he wasn't positive enough. I don't think that was the case yesterday. I have accused him of that in the past. But I think what it exposes is the fact that we haven't got that player that we've discussed before that is going to stick away 20 goals a season. But in the end, we were probably value, but it did look like we were petering out there. I haven't seen their goal. I haven't seen the penalty incident again. But it looked like one of those ones where it sort of broke in the box and one of our lads just sort of nipped in front and not even sure that he had control of the ball. And their guy sort of stuck out a tired limb. And I saw our friends at Torquay Talk said it was a stonewall penalty. And let's be fair, their analysis of the game seemed very fair from what I saw on social media this morning, flicking through.
Yeah, I mean, so Gary Johnson was after the game was hinting that the fact that he said effectively we could put out 2 teams was one of the reasons that won it to us. We made 5 changes from the game at Kings Lynn, and his team unfortunately weren't able to do that. Did they look tired? And do you think that's a fair assessment? We did make some changes, but is that what it is?
I think they definitely tired in the second half, but our movement and our intensity was a lot better. In the first half, we did that thing I thought where we were quite slow. To be honest, they were probably bloody freezing. It was absolutely Baltic in the shade yesterday. Poor old Danny Amos in the second half in the shade in front of the lower. There were people in coats, and yet in the main stand there were people in shorts and t-shirts. It was absolutely, like I say, it was bitter. But yeah, they did tire in the second half. But I think, like I say, we upped the tempo and they had to work harder. I can't remember who we brought on. We didn't massively bring on legs, did we? We took off Jones, I think, went off, and Taylor went off late on. But there was only one sub up to 85 minutes, I think, wasn't there?
Oh, don't be saying that.
Was it Max Wright? Max Wright. He brought Max Wright on, and I could see that in the second half. He wanted him to, expose their sort of tiredness with half an hour to go. But he didn't massively get into the game, if I'm honest. But yeah, it was a win's a win, and that's all that matters at this stage of the season. But I still do. It still does concern me that we need to be more ruthless against the teams that were the tougher opposition we're going to come across in the playoffs.
Scott, were you able to see it? Or from what you heard, what was your assessment of the game?
Yeah, I did. I did go. I was in the main stand, although I had my winter coat on, Bruce. I was freezing as well. I was in the shade.
He was out of the 6 rows that are in the sun.
Yeah. It was a strange day weather-wise. I don't know what you think, Bruce, about Crocombe as well. He had a great game. I thought he made 2 excellent saves in the first half when Torquay were pressing as well. And Torquay had chances, didn't they, in that first half?
Oh, definitely. There were balls across a few scary balls across the box, weren't there, and things like that. And like you say, there was one save. We moved. I preyed on the steward's sympathies, and they do have that. They do have hearts these days. And I said, my little girl, even though it was me, was cold, and they let us move into the Osmond, and we sat in the sun. And although the breeze was still there, it was so we had a view from right behind one of the ones that they hit from the edge of the box or just inside the box. And Crocombe, it was looked a really sharp save. Tipped it over. But yeah, like Scott says, there were a couple of opportunities, and I thought he was quite fairly tidy yesterday. He's been accused of, he comes out a bit more and dominates, doesn't he? And we've talked about his kicking, but sometimes when he comes out, he's not as clean as he could be with it. I think you pointed to the last away game you went to, didn't you, where he was a bit all over the place. But yeah, and it was nice to see Danny Wright sulking at the end as well, because none of us like him, do we?
I mean,
I forgot how much Danny Wright is all elbows, isn't he? I completely forgot about all that.
We all forgot what a piece of shit he is. Like, we need a shithouse corner just to sort of like, these are the winners and losers of this weekend, if anyone's keeping track. But it's nice to hear, and it's nice to hear that. How did Max Wright look? I mean, if anyone hasn't heard the interview that he did last week, it's really worth sort of seeking out. He's very aware of sort of his predicament and sort of where he sits within the hierarchy at town, and he might well be looking at the last few months of his professional career at the club. So how did he perform? Because he probably didn't get the rub of the green at Kings Lynn, where I guess the conditions in the pitch didn't necessarily help.
I think he was on for about 10 minutes, Bruce, wasn't he? And I think he didn't. I think Chris Doig was in particular asking him to get wide and stretch Torquay, but he didn't really get a chance to do it. And yeah, in all honesty, he didn't really do too much from what I can remember, which is a shame, really. I was talking about him with the lads I was with at the game yesterday, and you do wonder what Max Wright's next move is in the summer, because he's such a nice lad as well, and he's really grounded and down to earth. But you can't give people new contracts just on the basis of being a nice lad, can you, really? And ultimately, he's going to have to prove his fitness. And honestly, I wouldn't know what his next move would be if he was to leave the Mariners. It could be, Grimsby, Clay Town for all I know, or someone like Boston or Gainsborough or something like that. because I think he's still a local lad, or he might leave football for or for good. I hope not, because he's a really talented player, and like I say, he's such a nice lad. But you do wonder what's next, what the next chapter holds for Max Wright.
Yeah, I'll come to you in a sec, Bruce, because I'm far too. Most players are like, he's shit, fuck him off. I don't want to see him. But Max Wright's like, well, if we could do pay as you play or something like that, I don't know. Like, I'll be happy for that, because it depends. I think even in this sort of guise, where if you can get like every other game out of him, I think he's got that sort of additional sort of super sub quality that you're looking for in a player. And if he's happy to play that role, then I wouldn't be too bothered if he was on 500 quid a week, 600 quid a week, if it meant that we got those, like the cross at Halifax out of him. Bruce, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say it's quite telling that Scott thought that, and it's not a go at Scott at all, but he quite telling he thought he was on for 10 minutes, he was on for half an hour, and that's like going back. He didn't, like I say, he didn't get in the game enough. And Andy Carr, I'd say, just mentioned that he was screaming at him to stay out wide, and maybe we didn't get the ball out to him enough. But he certainly didn't influence the game like I've seen him. We've all been at Blundell Park when he's come on as a sub often, and had some weaving runs and caused terror with his pace. I didn't think he got in the game yesterday particularly. But we've sort of gone on to the second half when he came on, and we've not really mentioned Harry Clifton's goal, which is worthy of mention.
We'll get there, Bruce. We'll get there. You're not. Don't worry. You
brilliant strike.
You don't have to be the orator or the sort of the chronicler of the. What would you call it? The person who takes notes at a parish council meeting. You don't need to worry.
That's good, because my writing's rubbish. I can't read my own writing.
Well, you're the only one that keeps us up to date with what happens at town anyway. So if you're rubbish it, we're all screwed. I mean, that was going to be my effortless link, and saying,
sorry, mate.
That's all right. If you want to, it's fine. Don't worry. The magic comes along every now and then. But let's talk about him then, because I mean, I've been critical of Harry Clifton, saying, look, if you want to win this league, he can't be the guy, a regular starter in your 11. And I think he'd sort of started when after Woking, he targeted 10 goals for the season. And because, as Danny Butterfield alluded to, because he's in every spot apart from where he needs to be, he is probably he's not been able to cement the spot, and left wing has been the closest he has. His goal was brilliant. How was he otherwise? Sorry, is that a really long, pointless link?
No, I just was waiting to see if Scott unmuted. But his goal was brilliant, and it was a really good strike. But Ollie's just said on there that he thought Clifton was poor yesterday, minus the goal, and he gives you everything. We've never doubted that, but he should have had more than the one goal yesterday, and he probably took his hardest opportunity. He had a chance in the second. I think he's a real grafter, and he works hard. And his energy we miss when he's not there. And there's probably a job in the team for him. But when he got forward yesterday, he sort of got through. I don't know. You probably got a better view, Scott, whether he was 1-on-1 or whether he was sort of had one defender to beat. But he ended up falling over because I think he had too much time to think, and he needed a little bit of trickery, and that's not his game, and that's not a criticism. That's just not his game. But he just didn't have that bit of composure in front of goal. But the ball that came to him and he hit first time was absolutely, was brilliant. But I thought when he had a bit of time to think about it, or he needed to do something a bit different, then he was a little bit short. And that's very harsh, like I say, on somebody that scored a good goal. But we could have needed those other opportunities that he missed later in the game.
Yeah, I was just going to say what Kevin Broughton said on Facebook. Left a comment that he could have had a hat-trick yesterday, Clifton. And that chance you're alluding to, Bruce, when he was through, he gets in really good positions, by the way, Harry. But it's just you're never really confident that he's going to put that chance away. When he was throwing goal, and I shouldn't think like that really. Now, if that was Max Wright, and like he did against Wrexham earlier in the season when he was throwing goal 1-on-1 with the keeper, if I remember correctly, he dropped his shoulder, took it around the keeper, and put it in. Harry Clifton, I'm not expecting him to score that, and I was never confident. And in the end, yeah, it was a bit embarrassing for the lad in the end, wasn't it? How he just fell over and yeah. But he gets in really good positions, Clifton, and he's a real grafter. I think it's been mentioned before. If he wasn't, I mean, it's not a criticism at all of Harry Clifton. If he wasn't a local lad, would he still be favoured by the fans? Do you think? And I'm just putting it out there. That's not particularly what I think, but if he wasn't a local lad and he was a signed player, would the fans be getting on his back?
Yeah, it's a good point. We'll probably come on to Jerry Jones in a second, and sort of talk about how he's sort of been going in the last couple of games. Tom, I'm very aware that I haven't given you any opportunity to talk. I guess you listened yesterday, and have you got any sort of thoughts on what we've been discussing? When you bring me on a downer.
Well, it is a bit of a bloody downer considering we won 2-1.
We'll get to the good stuff.
We're in the playoffs. We're top of the form guide in the conference, going into the crucial part of the season. And in typical Grimbarian style, everyone is got a right Mardy on.
I've got to say, you're putting your positive tones across in such a positive way. You sound like a man filled to the brim with positive, like a positive speaker.
I think it was a really good result. People, up to yesterday, even after yesterday's result, Torquay is still third in the form guide. So there's a team that were really informed going into that game. And I think Bruce mentioned the Twitter thread that I was basically instigated. It was
Bob v Tom.
With Place Bob.
Dark side v the light side.
And yeah, I appreciate Bob goes to probably all the games. And so he certainly has a much more in-depth viewpoint than I do. But we did win that game yesterday, and a lot of the games that we didn't win earlier in the season, we sort of placed that down to fine margins. Chesterfield and Notts County at home, we lost those late on in the game, and on another day, those results would have gone our way. In recent weeks, those same types of games have gone our way, and rather than celebrating that fact that we've come out of those games on top, we're still criticising the team and Paul Hurst for not trying to win the game or not being tack enough. I don't think you can have it both ways. I think we've done a really good job in recent weeks, and if you want us to be in form any time of the season, the time is now. Doing the double over Torquay, I don't know how many teams have done the double over this season, but I think that's a tough team. They got to the playoffs last season. Good team to do the double over. We did it without McAtee. And then talking about Max Wright and Clifton, two local lads who have come through from the youth system to the first team. I think Max Wright we've discussed on several occasions. I'm sure he thinks it feels like really harsh to sort of discuss this type of thing. I personally would obviously love to see him, if he did leave town, go to Boston. He had a really good spell when he was at Boston.
I'm quite surprised you're not trying to tout him for Skeggy.
And Boston are obviously they're in the playoffs at the minute to get up to the conference anyway. So that, that could be a local option for him. But if he has a really good run of form into this end of the season and keeps himself fit, he might play himself into a contract. Who knows? And let's hope that he does do that, because he, as Scott said, going forward, he is a real threat. He put a wicked cross in for the goal against Halifax at home, which Maguire Drew scored. He scored that lovely goal against Wrexham. And then when we were in the league, he had some nice contributions as well. He's clearly got some great talent. He just needs to sort of stay fit. And then Clifton, sometimes I sort of marvel at the criticism that he gets. I think he's been a brilliant player for us. And this season, he's really improved his goal scoring. Someone just mentioned in the chat, he's on to 7 goals now this season. which I think is his best tally for the club. And if there was anything that I was going to criticise him up to the start of this season, it was definitely his contribution in terms of goal. I think 7 goals for a centre midfielder who doesn't play in centre midfield every single week and plays left-hand side of midfield, full back, centre mid, wherever he's asked to play, and still contributes 7 goals is an absolutely brilliant return. And he's still got a chance to get to 10 goals. And if he got to 10 goals, I wouldn't be surprised if someone from a higher level came in for him.
I think you're probably right, Tom. We're maybe me and Scott are perhaps being a little bit overcritical, but because I think it's that old adage, isn't it, that we say that most players are at this level for a reason, and it's either attitude or ability, or there's something not quite there that stops them, playing, well, maybe not League Two, but maybe League One and Championship and above. And if Harry Clifton scored 12, 13, 14 goals a season with the rest of his game and his energy and his work rate, then you're right, he probably wouldn't be here. So yeah, maybe been a little bit overcritical, but as I say, in those games where there's fine margins, you're naturally going to pick out and discuss the opportunities that we miss, and that could be Harry on one day, and last week at Kings Lynn, that was the 2 strikers that came on and didn't really do themselves any favours.
And let's not forget, Clifton's a Wales under-21 international at a time when Wales, at the peak of their powers since '58, he's broken into a
Wales power.
No, not a power at the peak of their powers.
San Marino at the peak of their powers.
Like it is, Wales have they've developed a system, and he's broken into that system, and they are producing players from that system that are getting into their senior side that is competitive on an international level. Like, he deserves credit for that.
The next Gareth Bale. You heard it here first, DN35.
No, I'm not saying he's the next Gareth Bale.
I'm joking, mate. I'm joking.
I know, but I think there's a point to that. Like, if you're trying to sell Gareth Bale as Grimsby Town, like, the fact that he's an under-21 international adds value to him if he's not an under-21 international, and as a player, it without doubt adds value to him as an international, doesn't it? Like, there's no denying that.
When do we? How old is he? He's out of contract this summer, though, isn't he? So we would
23.
So we wouldn't be eligible. He would go on a free then, wouldn't he? We wouldn't get anything for that. Is that right?
I don't know.
What's the age, Scott? Do you know? Is it 21 or is it? It's certainly.
I don't know. Is it similar to that? I mean, it's a few years ago, but Danny Butterfield, that situation. Now, is it similar to that?
I just mean if we offer him a contract and he decides to go somewhere else, I mean, I just don't know whether we're entitled to anything at 23. That sounds a little bit old to me.
Oh no, that's right. Town forgot to offer Danny Butterfield one, didn't they? That's right. Anyway, that's another story. Yeah, I don't know, Bruce. To be honest, yeah.
Tom, do you want me to give you some positivity then? So we're on course to have our second highest ever club's points total in the club's history. We're set to get 83 points if we continue with sort of points per game we're currently getting and on our current form. That's only second to the 86 we accumulated in 2014, 2015. We've already, how many points are we on so far? I've said this with no confidence at the moment.
72.
72. We're only 8 points off what the team in 2015, 2016 put in. We've already matched the same amount of points that the 97-98 team accumulated in their season for promotion. We are now on our average attendance now is the highest we've had since 2003, since we were a championship club. I mean, I don't think we should necessarily be discounting third if we've got these games coming up.
Hurst out, though. Hurst out.
Well, I don't mind Hurst out. That's fine. If, Potcher's got nothing to do. He's getting bored of PSG, isn't he? But I'd like to see him trying to explain to Giles Coke about the Gegenpress. Because that could be fun. We hit the bar, hit the post, created a fair few chances yesterday in the second half. we need to talk about McAtee. He, Paul Hurst said he's okay. Sounds very David Beckham, Wayne Rooney, broken metatarsal crap to me, where he needs an operation, but it can be delayed. What do we think? Are we expecting a lukewarm performance in the playoff semi-final, which sees us lose to Halifax, or is he going to be absolutely fine? Given we're all soldier injury experts.
I don't think we'll see him start anytime soon. I think he'll try and protect him, and see what happens from there. If he wants wrapping in cotton wool, because presumably, he hasn't actually said what it is, has he? He just said that if he's not in any pain, he's okay, but he'll need an operation. Does that mean we sort of give him horse tranquilizers and hope that he doesn't feel anything? Or
I mean, you can probably find some of them on Cleethorpes seafront if you need them.
just be careful. The donkeys don't take them.
I'm sure they don't. Get a better price for them down at whatever club there is. I was going to say the pier, but I don't think you get them at a fish and chip restaurant.
Well, I think you're disrespecting our seafront. Maybe in the marketplace.
Bruce knows more of this than I do. I got slightly flustered when someone offered me cocaine in a London nightclub, and I felt like a little country boy in the big city. He's like, "Can I take a photo with you?"
At least you went on the radio.
No, that's true. That's very true. She was yawning. Well,
Can I be positive?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to go on, Bruce, go on.
Can I point out some players that I thought had good performances yesterday? I thought Sean Scannell was excellent. He's an absolute beast when he's on the ball, and he took the ball into the corner, Scott, towards the end of the second half. He must have been down there about 5 minutes, shielding about 4 of their players off him. It was absolutely brilliant. He was good. I thought that Luke Waterfall, and this is a comparison you've never heard before in your life, I thought Waterfall, the way he leant on players yesterday, it reminded me of Virgil van Dijk. They would get through on goal, and he would just lean on them, and basically they were more bothered about sort of trying to lean this beast back, and the ball had just ended up. He did it 2 or 3 times when they looked like they were through on goal. I thought he was really solid again yesterday, and he's well on the way to being one of the top contenders for Player of the Year, I would say.
And last season he played like Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, I know, which is really odd, isn't it? That's yes. And I thought
what do we do with Scannell then? What are we thinking? Because people are he looks pretty tasty at wherever I saw him last. I can't even remember where it was. Weymouth, I assume. And he looked. Oh no, Boreham Wood, I think, is where he looked pretty good. What is he like? What do we put down to his resurgence in form? Is it because we're now in April and there's a contract needed, or what do we do?
Well, he's playing games, which we're actually seeing him playing games. It's a strange one, really, how he's all of a sudden in the picture, because he's had fitness for most of the season. All right, I think he was injured right at the start, wasn't he? But he's been eligible to play. It's just recently. Now I don't know if that's a contractual thing, if it triggers if it triggers a contract extension if he plays so many games. I don't know. That would be a plausible answer for why he's all of a sudden in the picture. But I think he's been brilliant, and he's really strong, as Bruce says. He could have scored yesterday, I think, maybe 2 or 3. He had a great chance near the end, Bruce, didn't he? That hit the outside of the post, and he really should have scored. I thought someone with his experience would have finished that. But yeah, he's great. And is he? How old is he now? He's not as old as I think. Is he what? He's 30. Is he 32? Scannell?
We'll just play some music while Alex Googles it.
I'm going to say 32. And
hang on, I'll find the music first.
He's going to put the intermission on now.
Yeah, hang on. Let's put some music on. What's the closest thing we've got? Let's do this. He's 31.
Oh, for God's sake. Right. Well, he's 31. So I at the minute, he's worth a year extension, I'd say. But I don't know what money he's on. I would say he's on a lot.
That's what I've said, and I've had pushback saying he's not. But I would imagine a player with So Jack Springer's just worked out how to send a comment into the pod. And he's put Fenty as a twat. I mean, it's not wrong, but yeah, I assumed he was on quite a bit given what he was on, and I want to know what fit. Paul Hurst is a good judge of player and alike, and he's only seen it right for him to come in now. And how can a player be unfit for half a season if he's not injured? I don't get it. Is that a concern? I mean, I don't care at the moment. Use and abuse him.
But he played the FA Trophy game at Stockport, the 4-0 loss.
How was that, Scott?
Oh, I had a brilliant day out that day. And I actually saw Joel Grant, Scannell on the pitch at the same time. And
warming up.
Scannell played brilliant. Scannell played brilliant that day. And yet, I think he was dropped again from the league game afterwards. So even when he played well, he still wasn't put in contention afterwards. So at the he's really in Hurst's thoughts a lot from nearly every game.
Ollie Hodson has brought up a good point. He says, is it bad to like Scannell because it means Holloway got something right? And is that why I'm so resistant to liking him? Is that what it is? It's his last look. He did all right. Bruce, what were you going to say?
I think we've got a pretty, apart from McAtee now, I think we've got a pretty full fit squad, haven't we? And I think it says a lot, which we've mentioned in the last sort of couple of months or 6 weeks, that Scannell's been involved in that, and he started off sort of getting on the bench, and now he's in the team, and also I think we've got 4 or 5 players every week that aren't even in the matchday squad, and I think that also tells you what he thinks about the impact that Max Wright can have as well.
You do remember we've got Rico Souza, who was at one point our talisman and was the person we were relying on to create something. Even when a point when we weren't shit, we were doing fine. And Hurst, I guess, made indirect comments about people's aptitude and attitude, which I felt were directed at Souza. But he's not even in the squad. Never mind in the 11. And Fox as well. Fox came in with quite a bit of a look. This lad's going to be good, and he found himself on the pitch yesterday, but he hasn't been a regular starter, has he?
It'd be really interesting in the summer, won't it, to see who we actively try and keep, because we have got quite a big squad again now. See who we go for, who we try and keep. I mean, it's only about 2 weeks since we were raving about Cropper. Now he's not even he's not even in the squad because we're not going to put a fullback on the bench, because I think he thinks that he's got Pearson on there every week, hasn't he? And he'll put Smith out of the centre back. The biggest problem, I don't know if you noticed, Scott, the biggest problem in the dying seconds was that we'd brought on Pearson to try and shore it up, and he and Smith went up for the same header because he was in the area of the pitch. He was in the area of the pitch where Smith had been. Suddenly for the last 2 or 3 minutes, we went from having 2 centre backs to 3, and Smith and Waterfall have been dominating all afternoon. I get it, but it nearly caused havoc.
Yeah, I did see that. It was over near you, Bruce, wasn't it? Yeah, and it was quite comical. Although ultimately it didn't mean anything. But yeah, it was it was quite an amusing moment, wasn't it? Because it's just an absolute basic, isn't it? As a child, you're taught, shout for it. And you can see Pearson give Smith the daggers afterwards.
Did that? Yeah, maybe they both shouted "leave." Kevin Broughton asked about Reiki as well. He's got to come back in, and from what I understand, he's fully within the club's plans to come back at some point. And that's another midfielder. He in the middle of the park. The competition there is quite high, and Clifton is obviously getting the nod over a few. How's Holohan been as an acquisition? I think he's been a massive. Him and Smith have been huge for the club's sort of resurgence in form. Am I wrong?
Holohan wants the ball all the time, and he moves it quicker than I think most of the other players that we have in there that play. And he tries to move it forwards. He often sort of drops into that gap between our defence and midfield, and then as we're building from the back, and he'll be the one that picks that pass. I think he's, like you say, I think he's a really solid acquisition, and it's good that we've got him here for another 2 seasons. I think after this one, haven't we?
And credit to the owners as well, because that's not a Hurst signing. That's not a Fenty signing. Sorry, that's not a halfway through a season, bringing a big player like that is a big ask, especially on the contract he's on. And it seems to have really worked out well, hasn't it? I know you all agree with me. It's fine.
Yeah, definitely. I also thought that Ryan Taylor was impeccable up front again yesterday. Everything pretty much that's good about our attacking play goes through him. And I know it gets discussed that he's not prolific enough, but I think yesterday we sort of had him as the focal point for most of the game with sort of three behind him. And I think if those three had been a bit more clinical, then we would have been sort of quite comfortable sort of midway through the second half, because I think that his touch and it's either his control into his chest or his feet, it just sticks. Very rarely gives it away, and he's also good at laying it off first time, out to the wide men. And I also thought that yesterday Danny Amos was really solid again. But Jordan Maguire-Drew was really, really quiet and has been for a couple of games now. So we're wanting to play, when we go more attacking, we're trying to play, especially if McAtee is missing for a couple of weeks, with two wide men. We could do with him coming back into form, because he's obviously looked really good in the first few weeks that he's been here.
It sounds an embarrassment of riches at times. Let's while Tom's away, shall we try and find the negativity in it? Abraham and Desaruve, are they too similar a player, or am I struggling with my lack of football knowledge to work out what they both bring separately? Scott's unmuted. He's going for it.
Yeah, I've not seen enough of Desaruve.
I like him. If that helps. I'm not very good to like players, and I quite like him.
I think. I saw him score the winner again. He scored the late goal against Was it Woking? The 1-0.
Yeah, the ball driven across the box, and he puts it in.
Yeah, I have seen him play. I thought I'd only seen him fleetingly, but actually I've seen play quite a bit. Yeah, I like him. He holds the ball up well. And Abraham's, I've not seen enough of to make a comment, but he took his penalty extremely well yesterday, and that was very calmly done considering the time of the game and the pressure that he was under. And he took the ball straight away as well. I don't know if have you heard his interview with JT after the game?
I really haven't, I'm afraid. What did he say?
Right. Well, he was just talking about how it didn't really faze him, the pressure at all. He knew he was going to take that penalty. I think Paul Hurst said that Paul Hurst had no idea who was going to take the penalty, which I find that's a bit strange. But Abrahams knew he was going to take the penalty and grab the ball, and he just waited for the keeper to move ever so slightly to his right, and then he just put it in the opposite corner. It was really well taken. Would I take Abrahams next season based on what I've seen? Probably not. But he's doing a job at the minute. I mean, that's 2 in 2 from him. But I don't think he. I mean, he's got the number 9 shirt, but I don't think he's turned out to be the number 9 that everyone was screaming out for back when they.
That number's a heavy number, isn't it? Like, if he'd just come in as a 15, whatever. I mean, Harry Clifton would have been pissed off, but if he came in as any other number, 32, whatever, nothing would have necessarily been seen of it.
No,
it's an interesting one, because I try and look back at 2015, 2016. That's the goal point in my head in terms of what the squad needs to be. Bogle and fuck's sake, Bogle and Ammond were steadfast. They played most of the games. They didn't seem as injury prone as Taylor needs to seem to have a rest every now and then. And McAtee seems a bit injury. He's collected up 2 injuries now this season, hasn't he? So I don't think the quality of second class strikers we've had is any different to what we had in 2015, 2016. Think of Huben and Straker. Anybody else?
Pittman's still here then.
Pittman was, but was he a striker or was he a winger?
I thought he said second class. Sorry, right? Oh yeah. Pittman he would consider himself a forward, I think, wouldn't he, Scott?
I guess you put
Jean-Paul Pittman. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, fine. Yeah. So you got those three. I don't think they're much different. I'd probably say Pittman's slightly better player than those two. But I think just because Taylor and McAtee seem a little bit fragile, I'm a little bit more concerned with who's the next cab off the rank, for want of a better phrase, I guess.
I was privileged to see both of them play about 70 minutes together at Kings Lynn, but sadly I could only tell you what they did with their heads because I couldn't see anything else.
Well, I think that seems to be the general consensus at Kings Lynn that nobody saw anything anyway.
I feel like I've seen a little bit of both of them, but I can't really make my mind up on either of them yet. They've both had a few minutes in games that I've seen over the last sort of 6 weeks or whatever they've both been here. But like I say, I don't really feel like I can pass judgment, and that probably says they haven't torn up any trees, but they've not been absolutely awful either.
It's I'm not looking at those two to make the impact. When I'm looking for someone to be brought on as a substitute, I'm looking at Max Wright, I'm looking at Sousa, I'm looking at whoever we've got in the middle of the park. I'm not looking to them to create it. And I guess maybe they need a bit more history, again, for want of a better phrase, behind them to be able to go, yeah, they're the guys we need because I've seen them do this, this, and this. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but why am I trying to find the negatives? But maybe because Tom's not here. But I don't know. That's my only concern. I think everyone's concern is going to be with McAtee's fitness, isn't it, as we go into the playoffs?
Can I just mention Jones as well, because I didn't think he had a great game yesterday, but and I thought he looked absolutely shagged out as well after about an hour.
Well, we had that comment. Who's put that up here that says that Andrew Niles said that JMD and Jones do not look fit. How did Maguire-Drew look to you guys?
I thought he was all right. I think there's still. I think he's a great player, and he's shown his class with his goals he's scored. Unfortunately, the miss at Chesterfield was one of the worst I've ever seen. I think from about 1 yard out. But I think apart from that, he's looked really good. Yeah, I would say actually, yeah, his fitness is definitely in question. I don't know why that is, because I'm not sure that Hurst works them particularly hard in training or anything. He's not doing like a Bielsa double session or anything like that. So, but it was Jones in particular looked really tired, and I was surprised that we didn't see Ben Fox come on yesterday. Don't know what you think, Bruce.
I thought I mean, he's obviously got Maguire-Drew's obviously got talent, and we've seen that. There was one of the, I can't remember who it was against when I said that he dug out across. Oh, I think it might have been one of the Chesterfield goals, the Clifton header. He dug out across with absolutely no space at all, and we've seen him score headers and curling, brilliant, good goals and near misses as well. But if you remember, I can't remember what it was, but he was injured and then he came back from injury, and he's maybe not been quite as sharp since he came back from injury. I can't remember the timeline on that. But yeah, he's definitely got unquestioned ability at this level. You're muted, Alex.
I can't hear you, Alex.
Oh, for fuck's sake. This is a joke, aren't I? It's like 2020 doing Zoom for the first time. Mike, how are you? Tom's back. We need to be positive.
Hi, mate. How are you? We're having a whip round for Tom to get a new computer.
We are, or at least it sounds like he lives in Hull and he has to deal with Kingston Communications all the time. Is it something to do with Portsmouth, Tom? I know they're an island race and no one else understands, but have they only got their only one internet provider, or do we need to do a crowdfunder for a computer?
I've just got a shit computer.
Okay, so if anybody wants to send any money to the podcast to get Tom a computer, please do feel free to. Bruce has got loads of stuff. He's a computer whiz. He'll have something in the back of his van.
I can. Well, I got rid of that unit in the end. We gave it to a charity shop. I didn't sell that, so my sales pitch didn't work on here at all. But I've got some dodgy laptops that, when I say dodgy, I mean dodgy in what they can do rather than dodgy.
I mean, that doesn't sound any better. What they can do, they can.
Yeah, but I know. But Tom's a nice lad. I could sell him one.
There you go, Tom. Sorted. Selling
I
one.
would give Tom one of these laptops.
Look, okay, we're going to come back for the second part. I don't know what we're going to discuss in the second part. We'll have a chat. But we've got something to announce at least. So on Thursday, we are very happy to be announcing that Jason and Andrew have agreed to come on the show and have a chat. They'll be live with us on Thursday from 6 o'clock, and we'll put up a link in the next couple of hours or so where you can put some questions in as well if you want to be able to put some questions to them. You can go to slido.com, put GTFC as the hashtag. There is a QR code. I'll put the video up so you can grab it. But they've been very kind enough to offer their time up to come and have a chat. Not a bad time to do so, obviously, as playoffs reign. Gentlemen, we are on our way to the playoffs. I'm almost comfortable in saying it. And John Tonda has said that we are all going to be able to bask in the glory of West Ham. What are we thinking of everybody? Let's face it, every Northern club, and we're going to include Solihull Moors in it because they don't get much love, to have to traipse down to London, to the East End, to one of the worst stadiums you can possibly imagine. Has anybody got any thoughts on it? Or is it just the National League being a bit shit? Tom?
I think it's quite nice because I haven't been there. And so
we'll go watch some fucking athletics.
I'm quite looking forward to the potential of a new ground.
New ground. It's basically the same. We should hold it in Tamworth.
I think the National League are kind of on a lose-lose sort of trajectory if it's not at Wembley. Wherever they decide to host it will be to the displeasure of one team that makes it all the way to the final. I think somewhere like Aston Villa, just as a stock stadium and the regular place to have it would actually be decent. What's Aston Villa hold about? Villa Park holds about 40,000. I think most conference finals would struggle to reach that capacity and certainly exceed it. And I think stadiums that are 3/4 full are better than stadiums that are nowhere near that full. Like when we played Bristol Rovers and there was basically 50,000 people there, Wembley was barely half full. And you could tell in the atmosphere. And like loads of people are saying, yeah, it's not a football stadium, blah blah blah. But West Ham have seemed to have been able to make a decent atmosphere this last 12 months.
Yeah, after they had a riot.
Yeah, so you know, on the subject of the playoffs, I think it'll be us versus Wrexham. That's what I think the playoff final will be, and I've thought that for a few weeks now. I think Notts County seems to be fading a little bit.
Mike, what were you going to say? Tom's just going to give us a rundown of all the teams.
I was just going to say, personally, it's all right for me. It's just a short trip up the Jubilee line to Stratford. I think.
I'm not just having it because it's convenient to you and just because it's in Zone 2.
So thanks to the National League for considering me. I mean, is this just a case of the National League being a bit shit and have forgot to book somewhere?
You think they're just having to ring round now and they only got an offer between that and a working man's club in Bolton?
I mean, I think you'd have sorted something out before April, wouldn't you?
It is a bit weird. Scott, you might have... I mean, you know the inner workings of football. You've been behind the scenes. Are you surprised that this is the case? I mean, looking at the list of Tom, if you're looking... So 42,000 is Villa. Above that, and we're looking at anything above the M3... Anfield, 54,000. St James's Park would be stupid, 52. Manchester City of stadiums, 55. And then obviously Old Trafford, 75.
Nothing surprises me with the National League at all. When the fixtures come out, I always imagine it's a guy sat in his kitchen with a Commodore Amiga, printing them out on a dot matrix printer.
Tom would want a copy of that.
I will try and think of positives if it is at the Olympic Stadium. There's some decent bars in Hackney Wick round there. which is where all the West Ham fans go for home games, down by the canal. I mean, I've not been to Wembley for a while, but I think Wembley's improved a lot since the option of the torch, and that's it. I think Wembley's now got a box park and
That
got
is sacrilege.
few of the. I hate I can't stand the torch. I've never liked it. I've always just stood outside it with some tinnies from the offie across the road. I've never managed to, I've managed to get in and go to the toilet, but apart from that, I've never actually got a beer from there. I've never been a fan of it anyway. So I think, like Tom said, it's a new stadium to tick off. But it really, really should be somewhere in the Midlands. Villa Park is always the first thought. Grimsby, Wrexham would be a decent attendance. What was it for the FA Trophy a few years ago? Grimsby, Wrexham, Tom, you'll know.
I can't remember. It wasn't a big attendance.
Fucking freezing is what it was.
But,
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I don't think we've ever mentioned it was cold, have we?
Never.
It was really cold that day.
Like 30-something thousand, wasn't it?
35,266. But obviously, given now Wrexham have now done a link and have found another 6,000 fans down the back of the sofa, they're you would expect 65,000, which is what we got against Bristol Rovers, I guess. Wouldn't you?
No, we did. We got 48 against Bristol Rovers.
Am I thinking of the the Bournemouth game? Am I?
Yeah, and I honestly don't think, like, how many did we take when we got to Forest Green? We only took about 17,000, didn't we?
I thought we sold 22.
Did we? That meant I don't know. I thought it was less than that. I thought we were nearer 15 these days when we go. But I think 40,000.
Bored of it.
I think 40,000 ish would cover it.
You never know. You never know. There's a lot more love for town now than there used to be. Apparently, there's. Well, you're probably right then, Tom, because it was 17,000 was the attendance that day. So, what do we say? Forest Green took 3.
12.
So maybe
I mean,
you're right.
An attendance of 17,000 at Wembley it's a pretty non-existent atmosphere, isn't it? At Wembley.
Oh, I'm not having that. I thought the atmosphere was bloody blinding, but then again, we were in the middle of it. But I take your point. Ollie's saying Tottenham would have been. Maybe we're looking too far ahead. I mean, Tom's head's already there, but how else are we all thinking about, of the prospects? We're looking at, if we stay where we are, does anyone know actually how this fucking league works? Because I have no clue. Who do we play?
At the minute, we play. Hang on.
We'd play Chesterfield away.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah.
So we'd win that.
Yeah, Notts County would go to Solihull.
Solihull would win that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, then I don't know how the next bit works. I don't know who plays Wrexham and who plays Halifax, the winner of them two. I don't know how that works.
The winner of 7th versus 6th plays Wrexham, and the winner of 4th versus 5th plays Halifax away.
Hang on. So we don't play. We would play Notts County. We wouldn't play Chesterfield.
Oh, I assumed that I assumed 6th and 7th would play the two higher placed teams.
This is fun. Hang on.
Yeah,
I'm sure
so 4th plays 7th and 5th plays 6th in a one-off tie.
Okay, so we were right first.
We were right, yeah.
With the 4th and 5th teams at home, and then the winner of those ties play. So the winner of 4th versus 5th plays Wrexham away.
4th versus 5th. 4th versus 5th is not the thing. It's 5th versus 6th and 4th versus 7th.
Sorry, yeah, and so the winner of that tie plays.
Which tie?
You're going to get a job at the National League here, Tom, if you keep going like this.
I tell you what, this is typical National League. Can't work it out. I mean, do you want to get your Bob Claxon out?
Anyway,
Somebody plays somebody else, and then
So
somebody
hang on,
goes,
no, I want to get this. We are the point in which town fans, poor fuckers, come for their knowledge. So who plays who? We're going to stick this out.
4th, 7th. The winner of
Plays
that plays second. 5th,
Okay.
6th. The winner of that plays third.
Okay.
And then
So-
the winners of those go to Wembley. And all of the sort of higher placed teams are at home in a one-leg playoff.
So essentially, all we want to do is move up one spot. So if we can finish 5th, we then play Chesterfield at home. I don't really care.
Well, this is the point, isn't it? That I think quite a few people made yesterday was that with us on 72 points and Halifax on 77, we should really be targeting third. Like there is a chance that we could get third, and if we got third, we would eliminate having to play one game and also guarantee home advantage in the playoff semi-final, and obviously home advantage, given our away record this season, would be a huge boost for us.
Oh, Kevin is coming out. Tom is wrong.
Hello.
Hang on, no, we got here, Kevin. Yeah, 4th v. Yeah, we got there. It took a while, but we got there.
We tried every combination of it.
5th v 6, and then 5th v 6 play third, and then 4th v 7th play second, which is not. That doesn't feel a massive win for the team who finished 4th.
When do we play Yeovil away?
Oh, don't ask them that. My God.
I've got it. I understand it. I understand everything Tom said there.
Good.
I've got that.
So we want to get.
I'm more confused.
So we want to play Halifax. We want to be where Halifax are, essentially, is where we were. And that is why we are your primo #1 Grimsby Town podcast to listen to. Not that there is no other option. God,
and if we were to finish third, the game would be on Sunday, the 29th of May.
Is that good or bad?
Well, I don't know. It's a game.
It's just information.
I've got a problem, Alex.
What is it? You can't go on the 29th.
No, a bigger problem than that.
What's that?
One of my friends is getting married on the day of the final.
Oh, that's a shame you're going to miss it.
We've been friends for 47 years. I think we've had a decent run, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you haven't been able to lift your bat for a half century, but it's been pretty good. And he'd understand it. I mean, the bigger question is, what sort of moron is planning their wedding for the day of the National League playoff final?
He's moved to Yorkshire, mate. There's no hope for him.
Hey, behave.
Yorkshire people, Christ. Well, I mean, it was. You can FaceTime it, can't you? Just send the wife and kidlets to hold up an iPad with your face on it.
I'm kind of hoping that Hillsborough would be a really good venue.
Where you're going there?
Because the wedding's in Sheffield, and I'm thinking I could go to the wedding and then nip off to Hillsborough for a few hours, and then bring half the town fans back to the night do.
I didn't hear that last bit, but I assume it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, I don't. It's getting nervy. Who was it? I think it was Jim Barwick and his friends were saying that March is when the season really starts, and you're getting that now, don't you? Yorkshire Mariner wants to know what we mean about Yorkshire people. Look, we love you. You're a special type, but the rest of you.
Yorkshire people? I never said out about Yorkshire people. I went to university in Yorkshire. Although they are
because I'm from Yorkshire.
Who said something about Yorkshire?
I don't know, probably me.
Oh.
Look, Yorkshire's a very beautiful place with very beautiful things to do. And it's
what's
so
the
attractive and
Yorkshireman's-
so... Oh my
What's
God.
the Yorkshireman's 2 favourite words? How much?
Oh, bloody hell, Tom.
We should have finished the pod on that.
How much? Look, has anybody got anything else to add before we do go? Because we're getting to the hour mark.
Yeah, I've got one. Yorkshire born, Yorkshire bred, strong in arm.
Right, before we get cut off in Yorkshire.
That was brilliant timing.
It's going well. We got Barnet up next, a team that are not doing particularly well. They are currently sat 18th in the league. They have lost 4 games in a row apart from yesterday. They have conceded 22 goals in their last 6 games. And everybody, we are now, and I don't care what anybody else in this podcast says, I am an advocate for the inflatables. Ollie Hodgson is absolutely right. Look, there is no rhyme or reason to it. There was never a rhyme or reason to the mariachi band. It was a nice little thing to do. I think games in the South have been miserable as fuck this season. We all need a bit of a pick-me-up. And I don't really care if people find it a bit stupid. But bring your inflatables. Bring your shark, Lee Meach. You might need to have a lawyer present. Bring anything you can. Bring an inflatable. Bring your inflatable penis. I want to see the stewards running after that they were yesterday. Bruce is bringing out the old Harry Haddock. That is what we're doing. That is where we're going with this. He's bringing out his Harry Haddock.
He's very, very deflated at the moment, but come Saturday, he'll be raring to go.
There we go. The Harry Haddocks are out. Ollie was saying the confiscation of the inflatable penis in the pontoon brought all the crowd together. Exactly. That's what we need. We need a bit of togetherness at Barnet. It's an incredible place. Oh, God, my God, you poor souls having me as a solo. Yeah.
What did Danny Wright get confiscated?
Danny Wright, we didn't even touch on that. We're too busy worrying about how to do the playoffs. Danny Wright, who said 66 easy points, lads. That was fun. The back stomper has headed back to Torquay. But Tom, are you bringing an inflatable? What are you going to get?
Obviously, I've found out this afternoon that Henry's not going to be there, but I was hoping to reenact our the last time we were at Barnet away with the inflatable ball.
Is that the one that I was blown up for about 25 minutes?
Yeah, probably. But what do you know? Who the referee was of the FA Trophy final we played against Wrexham?
Yeah,
Jonathan Moss.
Jonathan Moss
Must have been on his way up.
He's great on the telly. Do like his interviews. Scott, are you bringing anything?
To Barn? I'm not going.
What? Inflatables?
Nah.
I found we were tempted to do Vikings, but given
Tin Pot.
It's not Tin Pot, mate. It's not Tin Pot. Don't you dare. Look, given it's expensive at the moment, we didn't want to make you all kick yourselves out in Viking get up. So I'm going to get an inflatable Viking axe. I haven't told Leanne yet, so she might be mad, but you can get that. What are you taking, Mike?
Just my inflatable ego, mate. That's about it.
Get a beach ball. You've got to get a beach ball.
I'll buy one.
Simon Hodson's asking if anyone is taking a pump to Barnet. I think you need to. Simon, get you and your lads there and tell everyone about the non-league Bible awards that everyone's nominated for and we've all forgotten about. And you can get a free pump up if they, vote for it there and then. Lads, it has been a pleasure. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we go off and everybody has to go back to work tomorrow?
Be more positive. It's a lot more fun. Honestly, people who are listening, if you can sort of get yourself to subscribe to my narrative of the Grimsby Town season, I promise you'll be a lot happier.
I'd rather you subscribe to the bloody YouTube channel. We get money if you make to 10,000 subscribers. We're on about 100 so far. Bruce, what about you? Anything for you? Voting ends on the 28th. Oh my God, you've got 4 days. Go to the non-league Bible 4, I think is their Twitter thing. There's loads of town people that have been nominated, including us, including Mariner Hodo, Liam Emerson, Lee Blees. The club has been nominated. John McAtee's been nominated. Get on there, vote for people. Bruce, what else have you got to do? What's your passing comment for the people? Passing comment for people.
Maisie's final game of the season's been cancelled, and I've got no reason not to go.
So Bruce is going to be there. He's bringing his Harry Haddon. He's already told everyone. Scott, what about you? It's so good to have you back.
Barnet's a good ground as well. There's a great bar underneath the stand.
It's massive,
decent
isn't it? Sofas and everything.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's quite incredible. It really is. Look, we're going to enjoy you there. Look, apparently the next block go on sale tomorrow. So 9:00 tomorrow. Expect the Barnet's next thing to go in. Simon Hodson is right. I'm so sorry. Broadley have also been nominated for the non-league Bible Awards. Anything else from anyone? No. Good. Great. Thank you all so much for having us. We will see you all on Thursday when Jason and Andrew will be on the show. and they'll be talking you through, their queries, any questions. We'll put the link on our Twitter and Facebook page as well. Pleasure to see you all. See you soon.
Bye.
Open wide for some soccer!